Welcome to this morning's edition of the Morning Briefing. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with Mike Lubie Lubitz. Very happy to have you with us here on NoFilter.net, Caffeine TV, the various other platforms where this program is displayed. And I guess we should get into a little bit of history here because it just struck me odd the way that we were treated in terrestrial radio, Lubie. Now, I thought we did some wonderful things. We were working together. Lubie and I first teamed up at a radio station in Miami at 940 WINZ. It was a fabled radio station. It was one of the foundational stations in radio in a town that has a little bit of a radio history, would you say? I mean, WIOD spawned a lot of national talent and people that went on to great celebrity later on, including Larry King. The book is Into the Night. The author is Tony Bruno. Used to do that on the Mutual Radio Network. And then he became, the next thing you know, he became a big star, right? He's doing that interview show.
He's an icon.
Yeah, legendary guy. Other people of national acclaim emanated from and originated their acts on WIOD. So it's a place with a little bit of radio history. And 940, the station that Libby and I were at, what was very much in that same category. I mean, maybe second only to that fabled radio station as being the kingpin here in town historically. So it was quite an esteemed position to be in, where we're doing morning drive radio for about the last 10 years or so that we were there. And in all of that time, Louis, it's interesting because we were running some contests, and every now and then it would come into question. We were doing this earlier this morning on a quiz show that we have on another platform. And, you were able to hand the prize actually physically to the person who won. Is that not an extreme advantage over what we experienced?
That's amazing because we literally would lose track of prizes and get calls months later. Hey, Lubie, I never got this. It's like, oh, okay.
And of course, we would distance ourselves, in Pentangeli like fashion, and just say, I don't know nothing about that. Oh yeah, I was in the olive oil business with his father, but that was a long time ago. A long time ago. That's it. That's all. Nothing there. It was all lies. But people used to have to come in. They were so paranoid, the radio stations, in this case, iHeartMedia, and I would imagine it was true of all different chains and franchises in radio, where, the big corporation was concerned about any kind of lawsuit and litigation that was going against them. Because we're trying to go public right now. We just can't have some guys, some asshole, call in and say you got stiffed on a prize. So they would have you sign like all kinds of affidavits to assure that they had actually received the prize. It had to be notarized. There had to be witnesses there. And then they would hand you like a coupon for $25 for a frozen pie. And you had to go through more scrutiny than you would if you were trying to get into a UN meeting where Putin was about to sit down with Biden once and for all, and they were going to duke it out until they came to some kind of a mutual agreement. It was a tough ticket to get. So anyway, the one couple that I remember that was persistent in saying that we'd stiffed them on a prize, Libby, had left a message on the program director's voicemail that they not only hated our show, that we were despicable human beings, but that they were going to boycott not only all of our sponsors, but all of the sponsors of the radio station, including, and they were going to begin a campaign across the country with heavy backing from the Koch brothers to make sure that nobody ever listened to an iHeart radio station ever again. And, these were two crackpots, Louie.
Yes, they were.
And so in all the years that we were there, and we did a lot of, as I said, I thought we did some wonderful things from a radio standpoint, well beyond the scope of what could have been expected of us, since we were paying ourselves to be on the radio station. It wasn't like we were buying time, Louie. No. That was always somewhat insulting. Are you buying this time? Yeah, I'm buying time. We're all buying time. What are you talking about here? But, it turned out okay. It was a good situation. But the only time that the program director ever came down the hallway and said, hey, there's some voicemail here that was left by a couple of your listeners here. Would you care to listen to this with me? And it was the worst scathing indictment against two human beings. You would have thought we were the lowest form of scum. That we were the kind of people that actually lived in the Jamaica OTB parlor and slept there around the clock. That we couldn't have come from a lower barometer in terms of good taste. And I'm thinking, wow, all of this stuff, this is the only, wasn't that typical of that business though?
Oh,
but
yeah.
That was the only feedback you would get was, oh, what are you guys going to do about this? And we're like, nothing. These are crackpots, maniacs, absolutely insane. All right. Speaking of insanity, I mean, that leads us to today's sporting topic of the day, which is what to do about the Florida State Louisville game, Louis.
Oh, okay.
And then how much money is going to go up in smoke on Tiger Woods' comeback and the possibility if the Jets play Aaron Rodgers in a Christmas Day game. That is going to be, I guess, Christmas Eve is a Sunday this year, so it'll be a Christmas Eve game. Would that not be the biggest disgrace? Since I thought that Ray Lucas was going to be the savior at the quarterback position. An aging Brett Favre, Chad Pennington with one arm, and he was like the one-arm man in The Fugitive. They were all going to be saviors, and they were led to believe that these Jet fans that was going to work out. Is he really going to play? I can't imagine that,
No.
Libby. I don't care what kind of condition his leg is in.
He still hasn't practiced. He still hasn't been cleared for football. He's been cleared to like do things. He hasn't been cleared for football. Like he's 40.
He looked like
old.
he was playing pepper before the ball game, before they put up those no pepper signs in baseball. He's throwing a ball like 2 feet. And everybody's going crazy. Oh, yeah, he's coming back. He's coming back. Now Tiger's another thing because you never know what this guy can do. I still remember when he buried me by winning the Masters that year when I had Francesco Molinari at 25-1. And there's Tiger, and he's so intimidating. Molinari, who was hitting the ball straight as a pin the entire day, just whoosh. Oh, there's another one. And Francesco Molinari, the dashing Italian veteran, has now split the fairway and he hasn't been 1 centimeter off the middle of the fairway the entire time. All of a sudden, Tiger's in contention. Boom, hits one right into the woods. Right? Well, those pine trees really grow big here in Augusta this time of the year. And you hear the birds chirping in the background. I think there were birds chirping in this man's head. So I don't know. I mean, can you doubt Tiger Woods in a comeback, Lubie, before we get to this FSU game?
I mean, yes, he's old.
Is he finished?
We've seen him out of nowhere when you wrote him off, and we had written him off for a while.
Steroids, you think, contributing to some of this problem that he's experienced, these problems over the years?
Anyone who saw that the shape of his car and the shape of his face after his incidents, multiple incidents, he's been involved with a lot of drugs. So, I mean, mentally, physically, then steroids. Yes.
You don't think it was the juice, that Dr. Galea thing with Tom Rinaldi? Rinaldi's interviewing Tiger Woods. He just shot like an 83. And Tom, being the guy that he is, and he is a good guy, but he's distanced himself from our programs for some reason. Consequently, he's had, it's not coincidence, is it? He's had a meteoric rise in his career. Although they've buried him at Fox, have they not, Lubie? Tom Rinaldi? Do you see much of Tom Rinaldi anymore? He used to be on everything.
The primetime games. He's on, I think, the same.
Yeah, but he's a sideline reporter on the primetime games. He's no more important than Carissa Thompson is.
But he always was that. Like you just don't see him doing the features. We always loved his features.
Yes, with the music in the background. I don't know if
you never see the features with him. Like he doesn't do that anymore with them. I don't know. He does the primetime college football game and he does the primetime NFL game. I think he's on that crew.
I've seen him, but he's not like he was where he was doing these sit downs with Nick Saban. And of course, he was the only reporter at one time that Tiger Woods would speak to. And so he's got Tiger off the backyard of his home somewhere in the Orlando area of Florida. They're playing a tournament there. Tiger comes off the course. I guess he's just walking right off 13 into his back door. And Rinaldi grabs him and he's accommodating for Rinaldi. He wouldn't have talked to anybody else. And in the background, you see a shadowy figure, as if it was O.J. Simpson arriving at his Beverly Hills mansion. And you're the limo driver going, who is that guy in the black outfit? Looks an awful lot like the Juice. And it had to be this Dr. Galea cat who was wanted in, like, I don't even know if there was a country in the world where he could safely stay and not assume that he was going to be picked up by authorities and very shortly shipped off to the other 14 countries that had him under indictment. And this guy's running out the back door there, and nobody says anything. Rinaldi's like, so did you take any positives away from that 85 today, Tiger? It's like, positives? My ass. What? Who is that guy? He's got a little black box, and he's running like Victor Conti into the woods. It was incredible. So I don't know. Maybe he breaks down again. When you snap an ankle raking a sand trap, there's something up. I'm sorry. All right, let's get to your FSU game, FSU Louisville. When I first saw the line, 2.5 in favor of the Florida State Seminoles, that they are only laying 2.5 points in this game. and you thought to yourself, wait a minute, they're unbeaten. Louisville, as you've been saying, Lubie, life and death to beat some schmink team, nondescript cupcake opponent last week.
It was Kentucky. I mean, a Kentucky team that had struggled.
Like I said, a real good team. No,
No, they weren't good. No, they weren't a good team.
what were they, like 3-7?
They were, I think, 5-5 at that time, and they
would appear to have no chance. Yes, exactly.
They weren't playing good ball at the time, not at all.
And so they lose there, and now Florida State, which beat this Gator team. We talked about this a little bit. I mean, did you buy into the rivalry? It would have seemed to be in evidence that maybe there was some truth to this whole cliched thing about well, these kids have been playing together since Pop Warner football, and I don't know. I never really bought too much into that. But if you watch these rivalry games that took place this past week, you could see it in a lot of spots, could you not? Where, kids had to make a choice. Guys are coming out of high school and they have to decide, am I going with my buddies to Florida State? In the state of Florida, it was especially true that, intense competition for these guys until everybody else realized, hey, I can pick prospects out of Florida State all day long. And the next thing you know, Nick Saban is sitting with you in church and saying, what a fine young man your son has turned out to be. Right. And he makes a generous contribution to the congregation. And then happens to have his name, image, and likeness guy sitting outside in a Rolls Royce that he's about to hand to the kid. That kind of thing started happening, and maybe it diminished this whole business. But that FSU Florida rivalry, it seemed to be in play there. I mean, it was manifesting itself on the field as the Gators not having any kind of a season that would be representative of their consistent, steady, good play in the past. No matter who was coaching there, all of a sudden found themselves as a 7-loss team. But they didn't play like that. No. I guess they played like that in the end because they coughed it up after they should have been up by 25 points in the first half.
Yes, they allowed it to stay close, which worked out for my team, even though they were dominating. Their offense was moving the ball. Their defense, FSU had like negative 10 yards in the first quarter. Like, you would think it would have been a lot more than 12-0 with 5 minutes left in the second quarter.
Exactly. Yeah. I think they left, the so-called, I hate to say this, I'm going to sound like, any analyst on TV. They left a bunch of points on the field.
Yes.
And they go for like a fourth. Oh, and the Schmenky kicker missed a couple of field goals also. Yes. What was his name? I think his name was Schmeck.
His name was Smack. His last name was
Smack. Okay. Yeah. As in smack this one through the uprights for a change. Buddy, I mean, you hate to be critical of a college kid. We all make mistakes. Guy's like 19 years old. He's out there in this giant spotlight. Maybe he pushes one a little bit to the right, then he overcompensates on the other one, goes to the left. And the next thing you know, there's 6 points off the board that would have easily helped me cover the point spread, Lubie. And that's all we care about at this point. Never mind this kid. He should be cut from the team immediately. His scholarship should be in the shredder. Any name, image, and likeness money he should be sued for plus damages for how you tarnish the name of those potential sponsors. By the way, do you ever see these young men actually representing anything? I mean, we see some guys, like Caleb Williams is in national commercials and things like that. Okay, so we get that. How was that connection made for Caleb Williams? Well, winning the Heisman, couldn't hurt him any.
On USC.
That's for sure. Yeah, he's playing at USC. You think there's a little connection there to the show business aspect of this thing?
100%. Yes.
All right, so what are we doing with FSU and Louisville? Lubie, you are extremely tentative. Now, Lubie, for the uninitiated, is a diehard FSU fan, as evidenced by the fact that he has, he has a picture of Bobby Bowden, in his crotch that he keeps at all times. My God. You got the Seminole helmet there. And what is that, a Leonard Hamilton basketball that you have on the right?
No, it's Charlie Ward helmet. The basketballs are Miami Heat and NBA related.
Okay.
I do have an FSU helmet behind me.
Yes. All right. And you're well versed in this. I mean, you follow this, and I have to say, it's not that you're certainly not biased in favor of Florida State when you're making predictions about the outcome of games. But 5 out of 7 guys I'm looking at on this grid here in the New York Post have picked Louisville getting 2 and a hook in this game. They're not impressed with Rodemaker, who you said, and I agreed with you. I don't know if he's shown it yet.
Fine.
But he was a viable backup quarterback, was he not?
Well, in the second half, he did. I mean, look, the difference is Louisville was at home versus a 6-5 Kentucky, and they lost. FSU was on the road at night in one of the toughest places to play in
the swamp.
SEC, and still won by 9. Like whatever Rodemaker did in the first half, he actually acquitted himself pretty well in the second half. He made a few really big plays, and the defense was lights out, which defense in the second half is as good as any defense in college football right now. And this is not going to be at Louisville. This is going to be not only neutral site. You would have to think in Charlotte, North Carolina, Florida State will travel a lot better than Louisville football. This isn't Louisville basketball. This is Louisville football. The spread is very low. FSU should win decisively. However, anyone who's watched FSU the last 2 months, even before Jordan Travis got hurt, has seen FSU struggle. So what people have done is they're just picking against them every week and presuming they're going to be right one week. Okay, good luck. I hate picking any of my team's games. It feels like FSU should win this game, and especially since that spread so low. We'll see. I don't know. They fuck around in every game until like the middle of the third, and then they're like, okay, now it's time to win the game. We'll see if that works again. It feels like that's what they'll do, and that's why the spread is where it is. We'll see if it works again.
I was startled when I saw that line. I couldn't wait to jump on it. And it came to me when I first was looking at a variety of point spreads for the upcoming week. On the same day that there was a misprint in my paper. I'm still old school, reading the newspaper here and getting it's yesterday's news tomorrow when it comes to point spreads. I mean, far more updated on any kind of betting site. But I'm looking and it has listed the Milwaukee Bucks as 33-point favorites over the Miami Heat. Oh. And I call my bookie, Louis the Lipschitz. Been taking my action forever, Lubie. You met Lipschitz. He's not a particularly, the kind of guy that you would think would adapt well to, any societal situation. I mean, he's gruff, would you say? I mean, basically an asshole, right? So I call him. I say, hey, I want the Heat. I'm getting 33 tonight, Lip. Can you get me down like a couple of dimes on that? And you know what his response was? Go fuck yourself. That was a dream. And I thought this 2.5 with Florida State was the same kind of dream, but I'm seeing so many questions being posed about this, Louis. That's what's wrong. That's why the nation is going to become just an entire collection of psychos, because you're asking yourself, what is wrong? This looks like Christmas in early December, 2.5. Florida State. Is that too much to lay? We'll find out. Probably get crushed like a grape now that we've, offered up our theory on the game. All right, I think Rodemaker settled himself in a little bit in that second half against the Gators. That's not easy to do when you're playing like shit. To orchestrate a comeback, and we saw some replay action of that game yesterday when we were having lunch in a bar here in town. Actually, a spectacular day out on the beach there. And watching it, I didn't realize it hung close all the way. It was undecided into the fourth quarter.
It was the fourth quarter. Well, it was undecided in the sense that Florida State couldn't score. The stats flipped, whereas Florida controlled the first half. FSU dominated the stats in the second half. They just weren't putting touchdowns on the board. And eventually, in the fourth quarter, they finally did.
Washington, Oregon, that's also a strange line, huh?
That's Friday night, too, which is going to be cool. Yeah, it's big. It's actually become a big line in Oregon's favor.
9.5, I think it's at now. 9.5 points. Oregon favored, even though they lost heads up to Washington not that long ago.
Yeah. They sort of gave that game away.
What do you think?
That game, they were in control, and they just in landing made a lot of stupid ass calls.
Is that a sucker punch line right there? Oregon laying 9 and change?
I don't know if they're going that big. I mean, that's a lot for the higher ranked team to be giving. Like, we'll see.
Imagine
in Oregon, but I don't know about that spread. I don't like that spread.
Imagine the nerve of the Lip telling me to go fuck myself. Just because I went on and added 30 points with the Milwaukee Bucks, who went off as 2.5-point favorites in that game. All right, that's going to do it for us. We had a lot of fun. We'll have some selections for you tomorrow. I doubt very much that you want to bury yourself with debt and put yourself in a compromising situation with whoever you're going to have to pay off by following Lubie's advice along with me on this. But that FSU line really did surprise me, and yet all accounts are based on the idea that Rodemaker doesn't have it. I think he found himself in the second half there against the Gators. Right. Put it himself very well. Neutral site won't be as bad. Florida State, they'll have the majority of the crowd laying 2 and a hook there with Florida State against Louisville. All right, we'll see you next time. We'll have some selections for you from a variety of handicappers on tomorrow's edition of the Morning Briefing.